Hey, Shalom family. So I began my walk with the Most High when I was pretty young in my youth, about 11 years old. But when we become teenagers, we go through war. When you're in your young years and especially your teenage years, you're going through war, and you begin to deal with conflict that will take you outside of the will of the Most High, right? So I started dealing with things, and I remember me and my best friend would read through the book of Revelation, trying to kind of scare ourselves to do right, to stay off the wayward path, So reading the book of Revelation, it was at that point in time, it was just something to be like, I don't want to be somebody that is dealing with these terrible things. I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to face these consequences. So that was the primary motivation for walking with the Most High, was or seeking to do the right things, was to avoid consequences, right? It's to avoid, I don't want to go to hell, to avoid the consequences of going another path, to avoid, anything in this life that's going to, avoid punishment, basically. So that was the primary motivation, back in that time period. It's like, I don't want to go to hell, so I'm gonna do the right thing. I really want to do other things, but I'm gonna do the right thing because, I know that is right, and to do otherwise, it's going to cause a consequence that's going to be of an eternal nature. So that was the primary motivation, but that didn't hold. That only holds that we look for short-term gratification. So if a consequence is far off, or we perceive it as being far off, we're going to weigh it out, and we're going to take our chances, right? At least most of us are. And so that only lasted for a certain amount of time. So, as I went through things in my teenage years, at the age of 18 is when I returned and repented and came back to the Most High. And the motivation at that point in time was different. The motivation at that point in time wasn't a fear of the consequences, because I had already kind of overcame that barrier there. Once you begin to indulge your flesh will, the gratifications of your flesh will override the potential consequences. So we know that we do things that are risky for us all the time because of the gratification that it brings, right? So that barrier, once you pass that barrier, it becomes low. It doesn't become an issue for us anymore. So when I came back to the Most High this time, the motivation was not to avoid consequences. At this point in time, the motivation came from having the void of not having the closeness of his presence, right? Missing the not having that closeness of his presence, not having that approval, not being pleasing, knowing that what I'm doing is not pleasing, knowing that I can't walk any further with him, any closer with him because of my choices, right? So the motivation this time was less because of me avoiding consequences. It was because of a desire for him. So I was willing to say, well, I don't care, even though I have different things, that I have different desires that are contrary to his desire for me. I don't, the desire for him began to override my flesh, right? So now it's like I want my spirit to be connected to the Most High more than I want these things of the flesh, right? So I made the Most High pull me back in to be able to walk with him and overcoming those things. So at first the motivation was to avoid consequences. Then the motivation became to know him, to be close to him, to feel to come back into a place of peace, right? Because there's no peace outside of that oneness and connection to the Most High. So to come back into peace, to make peace with that relationship, was my motivation at this point in time. But I still had desires and ways that weren't lining up with him, but I needed him. So that was the motivation at that point. So over these last however many years now, last 20 something years, now my walk with the Most High, the motivation has changed again. Because now I've come to know him and come to know his ways and come to gain understanding. Because when you walk with him now, you gain understanding and you begin to appreciate his ways. You begin to love his ways. So now my motivation is not that I want to avoid punishment or that I just need something from him, but it's that I need something from him. I need him, but it's also that now he begins to align you with him, right? He begins to change your desires and to line you up with his desires and his ways, and you begin to be renewed in your mind to where you can see the goodness in his ways. You can see the evil in things that are contrary to him, and you begin to desire the good, and it becomes your desire, right? So your desires have become replaced, so that's the process that we go through. How the Most High changes us and how the unfolding of that relationship changes us. That even happens in human relationships. Like sometimes you may, have certain interactions with a person because you just have to, it's just necessary for work or for whatever the case may be. But then as you get to know a person, you may start to enjoy being around a person. So then you may do things because you want to do it for the person. You want to make the person happy, in a relationship or whatever, because it may not be something that you particularly would do, but you do it, because of the relationship that you have with the person. But then over time, things that were even dislikes of yours about a person or about an activity or whatever, it can start to become a like of yours, or you can start to become endeared by the person and their quirks and different things, or things that you at first didn't like, but now you appreciate it and you enjoy it because of the relationship has grown, and it's taking you through different levels. It softens your heart, right? It gives you gain more understanding, and you are able to more accepting, right? So that's the course of a natural relationship, and it's the course also of our walk with the Most High that he takes us through. He takes us from one space to another, and that comes from growing in closeness, growing in understanding, and being realigned, because we have to be realigned. We have to understand that we have been enculturated, we've been indoctrinated, we've been taught in every essence of our life things that are false, things that are contrary to us, and it has become us. It's become who we are. It's become what we are accustomed to. It's become what we have grown to desire. And we have to come to a place to know that we have to be rewired. we have to unlearn and relearn. And the Most High will walk us by his word and by his spirit. He will walk us through that process, right? And it's a process. So if we allow the Most High to walk us through that process, he'll take us from that elementary space of I just don't want to get in trouble to I just want to be with you, to where else would I rather be? Like, what other way is there? Like, what is there but the kingdom of Yah? What is there but Yah's ways? I can't wait for everything to be in alignment with the ways and the mind of Yah, because he's shown how good it is. He's shown how functional it is. He's shown the benefit of it, right? I've seen the detriment of everything less than that, right? So he began to teach us his ways, so that his ways become our water and our bread, right? So, and we want to eat of him, right? We want to be able to partake of those things, and without it, we will starve. Certain things that, you'd rather starve than to consume, right? If only thing left to consume was you and another human, are you going to eat that human? Most of us are not. There's some things you'd rather starve than eat, and then this world will become something that you'd rather starve than consume the things of this world, right? You'll wait on him to be able to feed. So that's the place he takes us to, and we grow into that space, over time and over a relationship, over our experiences. And and that even helped me when it came to, early in my walk. I used to be so distraught at the people, because my motivation was to not go to hell. I didn't want anybody else around me to go to hell. So I was just so distraught, like, oh my goodness, if they die, they're going to go to hell. And oh my goodness, but over time, the Most High showed me, he's like, if a person does not desire me and my ways, then why would they be a part of my kingdom? You know what I mean? A person, we all have to choose what we desire. We all have to choose. And if we come to a point where we consciously choose that we don't desire Yah, we don't desire the things of his Yah, we don't find pleasure in his ways, then why would we want to dwell in a place that is eternally full of him and his ways? Why would a person want that? So if a person does not choose to desire that, does not have the desire for it, the interest in seeking it, then why it's not about avoiding judgment. That's not the only motivation, even though that may get us in the door. That got a lot of us in the door, but it's way beyond that. It grows beyond that, right? So we have to allow the Most High to unfold that process of taking us, and molding us and restoring us, because it's a process of restoration. We've fallen from the place of knowing, what's good and desiring what's good. Who goes through life desiring something that's not good for them, but someone who has been broken, someone who has been distorted, right? And we have been distorted in every way to where we are desirous of things that hurt us. Our taste buds are distorted, right? We have a taste for things that are slowly killing us because we have been consuming those things. And now we've been wired to want that and to desire that. And we don't have a taste for the natural things that come from the earth that was made for us. So if it was made for us, then that means that we were made with a desire for it. But we've been distorted over time and choice of us and those before us, right? So the Most High is trying to restore us into his image. He's trying to restore our desires, restore our sight, the way that we perceive and see things, because we've been taught a way to see things that is contrary to our very being, contrary to the functioning of our body, of our family, right, of our household, of our community, right? We've been taught things that are contrary. So the Most High is trying to restore us, right? He's trying to restore our mind. He's trying to restore our desires, our cravings. He's trying to rewire us, be renewed, be restored, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? So that's why we have to die to ourselves so that we can live for him. We have to put ourself on the altar, right? Allow these ways to be consumed and burned away so that we can live to things that are in alignment with life, right? So we have to learn. So we have to humble ourselves to know that this is a process that we're going through, and know that it's him that carries us through this process. It is him that is going to start the good work in us, right? And carry that good work on to completion, right? So the seed that the Most High plants in our heart, because we don't, it's only the seed that he puts in our heart that causes us to even desire him, right? To begin to go through the process of pursuit, of answering his call, right? So if he's calling us, he's going to answer us. He's calling us. We answer him, and he answers us, and it's a reciprocal process that we go through. And so all praises to the Most High that he starts this work in us and he carries it on to completion, right? He's going to see us through, right? And cultivate us to be able to be trees unto righteousness, to be trees unto, that stand in him. So he's going to root us, right? And we're going to rise up in him and bear the fruit that he intends for us to bear. So all praises to the Almighty. Allow him to walk you through that process wherever you are. You know, be willing to be humble and ask him to cultivate you, to cultivate your land, to bring you into that process, to unfold that process in your life so that you can be made into his image and restored to the glory, restored to the image that he had in mind when he created you. You know, restore the purpose for your life, restore the integrity of your body, your mind, and your spirit that has been intruded upon, right, by this world, right? So let us return to Yah, return to his ways, and be restored and be renewed. Shalom, shalom.